Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video. My name is Tyler, and in this video, we're going to continue working through Pone Labs. Now, if you're new to Pone Labs, you need to check it out. Pone Labs, hands down, is the best platform today for learning pen testing in the cloud. Whether it's AWS, Azure, or GCP, the cool thing about Pone Labs is kind of like try Hack Me or Hack the Box, but all for the cloud and for individuals. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was trying to learn cloud pen testing, my issue is every platform I went to required thousands of dollars or an enterprise license or hundreds of dollars to get initial setup. There was nothing that was like for individuals and that was affordable. Well, introducing Pone Labs. It's a new platform. They have over 30 completely free labs covering Azure, AWS, and GCP, and even a premium subscription is only $20 a month, which is super affordable to learn hands-on cloud pen testing. In this video, I'm going to showcase one of their premium labs, so you do need a premium license to follow along. But hey, if you don't have one, you can live vicariously through me. Watch me work through it. I'll try to explain what I'm doing, and you can make a decision whether or not a Pone Lab subscription is worth it for you. But I really do think it is worth it. This is called Exploit Jenkins in the Cloud. Let's go ahead and dive into things. So here we go. Exploit Jenkins in the cloud. We provided with an entry point IP, and here's the scenario. During our security assessment for a huge logistics, you've been handed various IP addresses related to the infrastructure. One IP address in particular seems interesting. Your task is to investigate this IP, exploit vulnerabilities, and escalate your permissions within their AWS environment. Every finding will help the company bolster their defenses. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's open up our notes. And we'll call this one Jenkins in the cloud. There we go. And we're given an IP address to start with. So we'll just give it our target and our scenario. And we'll just copy this from our scenario. It's kind of like our scope. This is what we're focused on, what we're not focused on. And we will just make that H1. Drop this down here. Make that, whoops, H1, and knowing that's our target, the first thing I want to do, since we're just given an IP, is let's go ahead and scan this IP and see what ports are open. Now, there's various tools you can do this for, but a few weeks ago, y'all sold me on RustScan, and I really am enjoying it. The cool thing about RustScan is it will scan really fast and then pass the results to Nmap, and then you can do some custom Nmap stuff there. So what I'm going to do is type RustScan -A. That means, hey, here's the target I want you to attack. There's our IP, and --. Now here we can specify the Nmap flag. So whatever ports are open, what I want you to do is use the -A, which means throw all the enumeration scripts at it, and we will hit enter. Now, so right away we see that port 22 is open. Probably not going to be super useful unless we can get some type of credentials. Port 22 is SSH, our secure shell. And so if we get credentials, we might be able to get access to the machine that way. And port 8080, knowing the name of the box is Jenkins in the cloud, that's probably Jenkins. But what RustScan is doing right here, y'all can go to this link. If you want to take over Try Hack Me, go to admin.tryhackme.com. That's the admin portal. You can be the Try Hack Me hacker. But that was fast. Let me back up a little bit. The way I used to do this before is I used to Nmap scan every port and then do -A on the open ports. Well, this is doing it for me. It's using RustScan to scan all the ports. Then it's passing the open ports to Nmap using the -A flag on those two ports and then giving us the output. And you can see it right here. So let's go ahead and grab this output. We'll copy that, go back over to Cherry Tree. Okay, that's cool. I'm pretty sure I copied it. There we go. And we'll go ahead and switch it over to code syntax highlighting. And we'll separate these out so it looks a little bit neater. And as usual, I'm going to make separate Cherry nodes for each service that's running, just so as we enumerate those services, we'll keep our notes straight. Not as important for something like this since there's only 2 services running, but I will say for those of you who are doing the OSCP, this is a vital skill because sometimes you'll have 8, 9, 10 services open, and if you split them up in this way, it'll make your life a lot easier as you enumerate different services. You can jump back and see, hey, here's what I found in this service, here's what I found in this service. It'll make your life easier. Trust me. All right, but we have port 8080 open here. We can see based on the HTTP title that this is going to be Jenkins. So let's just go ahead and open it up and see what we are working with. We'll grab our IP, we'll go HTTP, pass it in there, port 8080. And there we go. We have unauthenticated access to Jenkins from what I can see. We got Reckless Gizmo over in Twitch. What up, Elite Hackswhore? What up, Reckless Gizmo? Glad you recognize game, right? Hackers recognize hackers. So this is actually a major finding right away. If we were doing an internal pen test and we discovered that Jenkins was enabled without any type of authentication, this is a huge deal. You do not want to have your Jenkins instance exposed without authentication. So let's go ahead and grab a screenshot of that. This will be enough to prove that. And we'll say critical finding, Jenkins has no authentication. Right? And there's evidence that Jenkins has no authentication. And we'll do that. Okay. So from Jenkins, there's a lot of things that we can do, but the most interesting thing usually is, I think it's script or scripts. And from here, we can actually get command execution on the server. Now, you can Google like Jenkins. But the issue I've had in the past is the way these things do it. First, a reverse shell won't work because of the ingress rules on this machine. So I know that you can try reverse shell, it's not going to work for you. But even if you try to get code execution on it, it doesn't work properly. You can usually do command input like ls, but you can't echo anything because it's not a standard shell. It doesn't take the standard input in and put it out into a file. And so actually, I remember when I was messing with Jenkins RCE in the past, I had that issue. So if we go to GitHub Tenebrae 93, okay, github.com. Let's try that. There's me. Offensive security. I dropped a script here. So if you're following along yourself, you can either try to make this on your own, but here is what I did. So default Jenkins RC via script console does not handle strings, says it's not a full shell. This executes commands in the context of a traditional shell, so you can echo into files, aka echoing SSH keys. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. We'll grab this, go over to our script console, and from here we can actually execute commands. So if we do like who am I, we'll just do that run. You can see we have it as Jenkins right there. We can ls, LSLA, and we have access that way. I even see credentials.xml. But what I want to do right away is let's see if we can get access to the machine with SSH. So we know that our present working directory, I think this is going to be our Jenkins home folder. So let's go ahead and make a directory called SSH. All right, that should have worked. And now if we touch SSH authorized keys like that. And now let me just see if that actually worked. ls SSH. Okay, there's authorized keys. Now the cool thing, anytime you see SSH open on a box, whether it's the OSCP or CTF, and you have RCE, I find that better than trying to get a reverse shell, if SSH is enabled, just echo your public key into the authorized keys folder of the user you want to compromise, and then rather than getting like a buggy reverse shell, you can get a stable shell with SSH. So it doesn't always work, but I would say it works most of the time. So we'll cat home Tyler SSH id.pub. There's my public key. We'll copy that public key, and we will go ahead and echo our public key, and we want to append it that way to -SSH authorized keys. Run. All right, now let's see if it actually worked by catting it. Boom, and it looks like it worked. So SSH Jenkins at this IP right there. And it should automatically pass it our SSH key. Yes. Oh, there we go. So I have access here. Now if we look at some files, and let's go back to here as well, because I really didn't spend too much time looking at this. Building on the built-in node can be a security issue, blah, blah. So we see this S3 Explorer. Go to Manage Jenkins. So when it comes to Jenkins or other CI/CD things, there's often plugins that will integrate with AWS. So you actually noticed this in my previous video when we were exploiting TeamCity, which is a CI/CD tool similar to Jenkins. In TeamCity, there was a plugin that was using actually very similar, S3. This looks like it was S3 based on what I saw before, but connecting to an S3 bucket. And remember, we decrypted creds that way. So if we look at this one, oh, actually, we have some creds just in clear text to a bucket called Jenkins config load. Let's check this out real quick. We have this. We'll call this SSH, and we'll open a new tab. Call it terminal, cd home, Tyler, Pone Labs. Oh, we have exploit Jenkins. So you might see this. I was originally doing this a while ago in a live stream, but was having some issues because was it a month ago, 2 months ago? There were some weird issues with the VPN for Pone Labs, but they fully fixed that. So now that it's fully fixed, I wanted to come back and actually finish this lab. But let's go ahead and do AWS configure profile Jenkins, and we'll grab this access key ID there, secret key. Let's use US East 1 and AWS S3 LS S3. I saw the name of the bucket here, this Jenkins config load. Can we actually access that, and does it have anything interesting? Okay, so it has an admin and a config.xml. Let's check out this config.xml first. We'll save it to our current directory. All right. Reckless Gizmo said, are you exclusively doing Pone Labs now on stream? No, I'm not. I am not. Tonight, I ended up doing it, but no. I'll still be doing Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and Pone Labs. And actually, guys, my official Try Hack Me machine, my first one though, my official Try Hack Me machine releases this Friday, called Hack Smarter, where it's a hackback attack. You have to take down the Hack Smarter APT group. You have to do some AV evasion. It's going to be a fun room, but that releases on Friday. But no, I'm not exclusively doing Pone Labs, but one of my weakest areas is a cloud. And so if you follow my journey on YouTube, I'm often sharing on YouTube what I'm learning and like what I'm doing. I'd be doing this offline for my own learning, but now I'm streaming. So I'm like, yo, I'll just bring you guys into this journey with me. So one of my weaker areas is just cloud, because I find it very confusing. And so that's why I'm doing a lot of Pone Labs, is to brush up on my cloud skills. Yeah, Reckless Gizmo, that's the room that gives you root access to THM servers. You got it. Sorry, this config is a test job. False test shell. Hello, today is date. So that doesn't actually seem to do anything useful. I don't think it's going to be useful for us, but we saw admin here. Can we actually access that? Okay, let's try Jenkins backup.sh. We'll save it to our current directory. And copy. Okay, so we do not have permission to grab that. Let's go back to SSH though, because what stood out to me right away is anything that, if it's called credentials, that might just be credentials, right? That might just be something that's helpful to us. What is credentials? We have Jenkins admin AWS credentials, and similar to TeamCity, you can see they are encoded. Let's go ahead and just grab this, and we'll drop it in there. So we have encoded credentials. Let's go to, this is bringing back PTSD from my rabbit hole on TeamCity, but Jenkins is a lot more popular. Jenkins decode. Let's just do that. Yeah. I've taken another project where a lot of Jenkins has passwords, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's what we have. And Jenkins go to script page, and that's actually this right here. That's where I was originally doing all my commands at. And run the following command. Okay. And we'll grab our encoded credentials there. I don't think it's only base 64. Here, we'll check. Because if we do... See, it's more than base 64 encoded. I don't know what kind of encoding it is, but it's specific to Jenkins, I believe. So very similar to TeamCity, honestly. Boom. That decoded it for us. So now if we do AWS configure profile, we'll just call it admin. This is probably a different CTF I was doing. The old admin creds there. And we can grab the access key ID from right here. And we will grab our secret from right here. And once again, for those of you who might be new to AWS, when you see AWS, this access key and the secret, think username and password. That's kind of what this is. It gives us authentication that we can interact with the AWS environment via the CLI or the command line interface. And we do that by saving our credentials to a profile here. And that's what I'm doing here. It's fine. And now, if we go back to that bucket we were trying to get access to, this Jenkins backup, instead of using the Jenkins profile, let's use the admin profile we just set up. And I wonder... Okay. So now we have this dev.pem user, I suppose here. There's a few things we can try. One, let's just try to SSH as this dev person and see if we're prompted for a password, since we have a password there, and it doesn't work. It wants us to have a key, but remember, we have access to it. I just want to save our stuff there. Do we have any other users here? So this is on the actual EC2. Cat etc password. Oh, so dev is a user here. So can I switch over to dev? And then can I use their password here? No. Oh, it was the root password. Okay. So we see another case of password reuse, which once again, it's super common even in the real world. People reuse their passwords all the time. I discovered this on Pentest all the time as well. When you find one password that works, you use crackmap exec, or now netmap exec, to spray it across the AD environment. And once you find that one password, you have like 8 accounts that you now have pwned. So this is actually really common. So whenever I find a password, the first thing that I try to do is just use it on every account that I can think of. Odd that doesn't work on the dev user, since we do have a dev user on the machine. But I suppose this is actually the passphrase for their key, not necessarily like the actual dev's password. So if we found this dev.pem, we could use that key to get access to it. So I think the dev user probably has access to the root account as well, and they're reusing that password for the root account, as well as using the password to get access to their private key there. At least that would be my guess. But now we have access as root. And that's the machine. That was a lot easier than the TeamCity one. Let me go ahead and submit that flag so I get credit for it. And there we go. We submitted it. But now I'm curious. There was something I wanted to try to combat password reuse. Reckless Gizmo says, I'm using password plus whatever service I'm using. That's a great idea. Like password Jenkins, password TeamCity, password Pwned, password try hack me, password hack the box. That's actually, and that's how I use my bank account, Wreck This Gizmo. My bank account password is just password bank account. Therefore, I don't have password reuse across any of it. That's a genius idea. You should definitely become like a consultant, help organizations with that. On the script console, I don't remember what I wanted to investigate. I had something in mind when I was poking at stuff that I wanted to dig deeper into, but I'm not seeing it. But anyways, let's look at the official walkthrough and see what we have here. So Jenkins servers can be attractive targets for malicious users. Yes, they absolutely can be. And like it's RCE as a service. We discovered that in the Try Hack Me rooms that we were doing. Remember the couple of Try Hack Me rooms on CI/CD integration? So yeah, we did that. We found the Jenkins instance. Click on Manage Jenkins, S3 Explorer, which we discovered that. We tried to download the admin stuff. It didn't work from that. And yeah, that config is basically useless. Oh, and I didn't even see this. So if you actually go to credentials, there was the admin account there. I just noticed it once I had SSH access. I saw credentials.xml. Anything that's called credentials, I find interesting. Oh, so if you inspect the page, you could actually see it there. Oh, that's interesting. So I really did do it a different way. I got full SSH access to it first. But if you just right-click inspect, you can see the hidden password. That's kind of what I did on the Team City Lab. See, that's the exact page I looked at. Yep, so you decrypt that. And then, yeah, they have that password. So you can't SSH because, well, password authentication doesn't seem to be enabled, even though it is their root password. And then they use a script console like what I did. Environment command. And then they did the similar to SSH thing, but they actually made a key. And maybe that's one way to overcome the weird issue I had in the past where I couldn't echo commands into. So either way works. Mine was a little bit different. I used my actual public key. But once again, that's the cool thing I like about Pwned Labs. Multiple ways to accomplish the mission. The flag for the lab is en route. So there's many ways that the above scenario could have been prevented. The first is to permit network access to only the systems and hosts that are required, right? There shouldn't be unauthenticated access to Jenkins. The none should be replaced with something more secure, the authentication section. Under authorization, we can configure a matrix-based security to assign the minimum privs needed for specific users and groups that do the work. Remember the whole principle of least privilege. We should always keep that in mind. We can also require that scripts must be approved before running. That would be a very good idea. So that even if it does get compromised, the scripts have to be improved. Also, any vulnerable plugins such as S3 Explorer should be removed, and we should ensure that Jenkins and plugins are updated regularly. In case of compromise, we should also enable logging and ideally ensure that these are securely stored off the system. It would also be better to use distributed builds and not build on the built-in node. For a more in-depth review of configuring security, the official Jenkins documentation is here. And then we have some real articles about this. Let's do a little bit of skimming here. A Jenkins miner, one of the biggest mining operations discovered. So crypto miners. So via deserialization, and then they were installing crypto miners, like a bunch of crypto miners. Interesting. DC Health Link. Oh. Do they not have authentication enabled? Oh my goodness. Real world. The Jenkins system was configured with anonymous permissions. Come on. And then look at this. So there's logs. While those files are password protected, they found a reused passwords and logs accessible by an unauthenticated user. You compromise one password, you spray it across the board, and boom. Wow. Come on. Here's some CVEs that allow anonymous users to become admins, which then you have that script execution. Anyways, just showing that like real world issue, real world problems. This lab is very real world. And that's the other thing I enjoy about Pone labs that I sometimes get frustrated with on some other platforms, that I try to do a standalone CTF and it's like, it's very CTF-y, very puzzly. I hate, and that's a strong word, but I mean it, I hate the puzzly CTFs where it's like decrypt this freaking thing with cyberchef.io with 15 different recipes to get this secret that leads to this directory that leads to another secret you have to decrypt with some freaking Leap Python garbage. Every lab I've done on Pwned Labs, very real world, very realistic. It teaches good stuff, but it's not like a silly puzzle you have to figure out. And hey, my machine that comes out and try hack me this Friday also is not a silly puzzle you have to figure out. It is also very real world and realistic. But hey, y'all, hope you enjoyed us working through this Jenkins lab. Hope you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one.